Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our additional episode of Winning Mondays. Today, it's a very special day because you get me 100%. I'm the 100% with you today. There's no guest. It's just me and all of you. As we wait for the most of us to log in either on Workplace or on Zoom, share with me, how has your 2022 been so far? In one word or one sentence, share with me after that first week or the first 10 days of 2022. How has it been for you? Please put in the chat box. What are some of the positive experiences you have had this year so far in the past 10 days that you would like to share? Please put in the chat box as we wait for some of our friends to come online. What are some of the things? Active. Okay, what else? What are some of the things, one word or one sentence, describe how you feel about the first 10 days of 2022? Put in the chat box right now. Your participation is very, very much appreciated in this journey. As you know that I'm talking to, I'm on my own right now today, speaking to all of you. And my mother-in-law is just next to me. She's 93 years old this year. She's still wondering for the past 3 years, why am I talking to my television in front of everyone? So if you participate, that will be great. Okay, so great. More viewing, eye-opening, excited, awesome. Wow, words that you can use to describe positive, to describe the 2022 that you are experiencing right now. And I thought today my goal is to give you a perspective of what I think 2022 is going to look like from a business standpoint. Happy new me. Awesome. I like that, Justin. Motivate to improve. Awesome, Eric. My goal here today is to create a perspective, and I encourage you to watch again this recording if whenever you have time, or share with someone, because I believe this is a very important perspective that I want to share personally with everyone here about what I think about the market and how I think we should be thinking about our business to set our business up for success in the beginning of this year. So my goal is to give you that perspective from what I think from my vantage point in analyzing and studying the market a little bit and try to understand where we are, because there are a lot of noises. If I ask you all a question today, and this question is probably the most important question that all of your clients will be asking you, and the golden question would be, how is the market right now? Now, if I ask you this question, how is the market right now? What would your response be? Put in the chat box. Let's evaluate. Let's have this conversation here quick before I go into the presentation. If your client were to ask you today, how is the market? What would your response be? Put it in the chat box. What's the market looking like? Is it a better market? Is it a great market? Is it an awesome market? Is it a hot market? Is it a market that price will keep driving up? Price will keep going up or keep coming? Well, what would that perspective be? And it's important to understand the perspective of the market. Crazy. What does it mean by crazy? Is the market price going up? Hot market, many inquiries. Yeah, it's important for us to know changing but still volatile, waking up, improving. Yes, everybody's understanding. Yes, depending who is asking. If I don't want to elaborate further, I will say like that lah. Pandemic can uncertain, right? So there's a lot of mixed active. There's a lot of activity. Definitely, a lot of people are coming out from a major lockdown, and they are relooking about the way they want to live their lives. Property is changed. There's a lot of potential changes in the property market. Is because many people are feeling that I want to have a better space in my property. I want to think about living in a different way. I have so many friends moved house in the past 2-3 months because they realize that they need a different kind of space. But in general, how does the market look like? A lot of people say uncertain, active. So this is what I think. I'm going to quickly share my screen. Just give me a minute. There's a new function I'm testing right now on Zoom that allows me to do this. Hang on. Okay. Are you seeing my screen right now? Right, you can see me right now. You can see me, a little guy down here. I like to do this because my son say all the gaming videos all got the guy at the bottom and then they have the screen at the back. So don't worry, I'm still I'm not in the metaverse yet. I'm still in front of my computer. It's just the the function in Zoom that has this, right? So I'm not in the metaverse yet. But really, as we enter into 2022, we came out from a very tough 2021. Everybody in the beginning of 2021 was expecting to be a better year. In fact, we were all expecting that 2021 will be a great year because finally we're out of lockdown. But who knows? How do we know that we were into a 3 months lockdown, the longest lockdown ever seen in our history, right? And it has dampened. Now the challenge is nobody is talking about what's the impact of that lockdown, what's the impact of 2021, because the impact of 2021 was not really felt, and I think we're going to feel some of it this year. Now you'll be hearing a lot of noises, and the number one noise you hear in our industry especially is people talking about this or the metaverse, how the metaverse is going to change our life this year. The challenge that I think most people don't understand, that the metaverse is real, it will happen, but it's not solving the problem today. The metaverse is not solving a problem today. It is not helping us to understand what's going on in the market. It's not going to help you in you and my business right now, because it doesn't solve any problem at this point in time. And one of the 2 or 3 problems that we will see is what I will go through here today. But I want all of us as real estate agents here today, do not be fixated on this metaverse concept. Now, it will happen. I think it will be something very different than what we all imagine it to be, but it's not going to happen tomorrow and this year. It won't happen. It will not bring, if you focus so much on this, it doesn't bring you the value and the business opportunity for you to solve your own personal problem right now. But it will happen. Please do not misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that this will happen. This will impact our business, but it is not something that is going to impact your business today, right now. So you need to be very, very clear what is going to impact our business right now. And a lot of times we go into this metaverse, some of us are calling ourselves meta agents and all that. Someone was calling themselves meta agents. And I asked this question, how is that going to solve our problem today? Right? It's nice to meet in the metaverse and have meetings in metaverse, but it doesn't solve the problem of an owner who's trying to sell and a buyer who's trying to buy. It doesn't solve that problem yet. It will solve the problem eventually when the systems and when the technology is ready for deployment for the public and the consumer, then it will. But right now, we've got to focus on what's the problem that we have to solve. Now, in order for you to bring value to the marketplace, as a real estate agent, you need to be in reality check. You need to understand what's the reality in our market and what's the reality in our country right now. Focusing on the reality helps us set ourselves up to prepare to make sure that we are successful, right? And it's important to understand that. It's important to know where we are right now to help us to get to where we want to go. Now, there was a report recently, I think it was last week in the Newsreels Time, saying that the property market will boom 6%, 7%, 5%. Great. My question to those reports, what about the problems that we have, right? And I want to explore the problems that we have here right now so that we are preparing ourselves to serve the market to solve the problem. Now, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to pour cold water, but I'm trying to help all of us to understand the realities of our market, which a lot of times, a lot of us don't hear so much of, and I don't think our government is doing a very good job in communicating this with our people. The first thing you will see, there's a crisis right now. There's a global energy crisis, right? Because of the hard lockdowns last year, there is a supply chain disruption in the trucking part, in delivery of fossil fuels. There's a huge global supply chain disruption for energy. As we enter this year, we are now entering into what we call an energy crisis. You will see that cost of energy goes up. And when cost of energy goes up and fossil fuel goes up tremendously, one of the things that will go up is fertilizers and animal feed. Guess what? How many of you have been hearing that there is an increase of price in chickens, in breads, in oil, cooking oil and all that? Why is that? Because it started with the first the first part of the ecosystem, which is energy. Energy is required to produce things. Now we have an energy crisis. There's a depleted inventory and there's a supply chain disruption. There are not enough trucks to transport the oil or fuel to some place, and some manufacturing arm or some process plants are not in full capacity due to lockdown. So if you go to Europe right now, there are some sort of a lockdown in Europe right now because of the Omicron situation. So we don't really know, but what we know from what has happened last year, it has caused a global energy crisis that has disrupted the supply chain. That's important for us to understand. And you can see that there is a inflation of food. There will be a food crisis coming soon. Now, every country will experience this crisis differently. In some poorer countries, you will see tremendous impact. In countries like ours, with a little bit more advanced than some of other countries, we are probably in a better space because there are a lot of subsidies around. But let me just share with you, how many of you saw an example of an increase of price in your food last week? Anyone? What was the announcement last week that said that, hey, this price is now up 21%? What was it? Do you all eat those things that was increased in price? How many of you? Bread, thank you very much. So you see that bread is now increasing in price. Chicken has increased its price. Everything, if you study the story of chicken in Malaysia, right? The government is trying to control the chicken price. Price Control Act controls chicken as a necessity, but the challenge is the farms cannot maintain the cost of operation because of the increased price of the feed. Right? There's just too much, it doesn't make profit when they sell chicken at that price right now. So there is a supply disruption for food. If you go to some restaurants, how many of you went to restaurants recently and you realize that some things on the menu is not there anymore? How many of you seen that? How many experience? You go into a restaurant, you see that some menus are not there anymore. Why? Because the costs have gone up and they realize that maybe I shouldn't serve this menu that is not selling the most because it costs me more money to buy the products and to put it in my fridge or my refrigerator, and the demand is low. So I can't afford to do that. So that's a huge global food crisis that is approaching, and we are feeling some of it right now. All prices of food has increased and it will keep increasing. Now, I want to bring you to that attention to some data to share with you certain data that is going on since 2020, right? The first thing that we talk about is the Malaysian inflation rate, right? So inflation, when food prices go up, inflation, right, is an example, it's an outcome of price increase, right? So for example, there is a huge high demand for chicken because for the longest period of time, chicken is the most affordable form of meat supplied to our diet, right? But as you see that the price increase, because there's also demand, you would just have to buy the chicken based on whatever price is being sold to you. But you can see there's a huge inflation uptick since 2020. When we were in a lockdown, you can see that the inflation is not slowing down. It was trying to slow down last year because everyone thought, okay, I think supply chain can go back to normal because we are finished with our lockdown. But who knew that we were going back into a lockdown, and now we are going to see that uptick again. So inflation is a real thing. And I sincerely think there is not much being done about this. I really hope our government can have a strategy to figure out what's the best way to curb inflation or to manage its inflation. All around the world, especially in the US, we have seen them having all-time high inflation. All-time high inflation. So inflation is an important aspect for us to understand, meaning the cost of doing anything or spending has just gone up, right? The next thing is the Malaysian Consumer Price Index. This index measures prices of products or consumer things that consumer buys. You can see again from 2020 to right now, it's an uptrend. It is a very sharp uptrend, right? So prices will continue to go up. Consumer spending prices are going up. So when price go up, what must follow should be income. But my question to everyone is our income going up? Anyone can answer that question. Is our income going up right now? That is why when someone say the market is going to go up very high, prices will go to skyrocket, we need to have understanding of all these things. Who's going to solve the consumer prices? Who's going to solve the supply chain? What's going to happen to solve the income that we have? So you can see that consumer price is going up. You can also see that the Malaysian producers' prices is going up. I mean, the cost of production has just gone up. If you're running manufacturing business, any sort of business that require cost to operate at a high level, you will see that their cost has gone up. The question is, did their profit go up as well? Because as price go high, there will be a point when the price is too high, the demand will shoot down. People will start looking for alternatives. I give you an example today. How many of you, when you buy oil, you're always looking for cooking oil, are looking for the cheapest one? How many of you experience that cooking oil has gone up very high? Right? So when prices go up, the consumer will start looking for alternatives because everybody is trying to get the best bang of the buck. So producers' prices is another indication that prices are keep going up. There is no way, there's no turning point here yet right now. I don't see any turning point here right now. I can see this is a very sharp increase or a very sharp uptick in terms of prices. The next one would be the Malaysia producer prices change. This is the cost for producers to manufacture. Every month, the price changes for their production costs. It is still an uptick. You can see this is a very, very, what do you call that? If I take a 5 years horizon, this is a very, very uptick. Again, the producer prices go up. So again, it's all pointing to something called inflation or hyperinflation in a very short period of time, because you see from here to here, it's only about a 2-year period. And we were actually going through a very good cycle where inflation is kind of being under control, kind of flat. But when we hit 2020, it just shot up because of the supply chain disruption, right? And the impact of the supply chain disruption has also caused us to have unemployment. This is the reality of unemployment in Malaysia right now. So that my question to the people and the economists out there, when they're saying that the market is hot and it's going to be growing fast and all that, my question to that, and I'm not being skeptical, I'm just asking this clarifying question: who is going to solve the unemployment impact that was happening here right now? Right, this is the part where people were unemployed. This part here, who is solving those consumer problems? Who is solving that problem? Who is solving the SME problems here? Because this is where people are unemployed. And unemployment is a very important element to look at as we move on in our country, right? The next thing is the house price index. I took a 10-year cycle to look at where the house price index is right now. Now, the house price index measures price changes every year, meaning from somewhere in 2004, it has gone up about 15%, meaning the prices have gone up a certain price range, right? But today, if you see here, we have touched -0, meaning prices are changing downside. There is a downward trend on prices generally. Now, by the way, this is measured across the whole country. Now, it's not the best data, but it's a form of data to tell us that prices of property is normalizing. It is not going to see skyrocket price based on this data trend. But in certain location, you will see that the support of the market value is still strong. In certain location, it is driven by high demand, low supply. But generally, what it's saying here is that the price index, house price index on average, is showing a lower price change or a negative price change last year and probably potentially maybe this year. Now, we don't know that, but we definitely, what I can see from this data is that you don't expect price to change overnight. So if you have an owner coming to you and say, oh, don't worry, this year my price will go up 30% and all that, that owner might be living in a different planet, might be thinking differently, right? Because he's not aware of the movement of the price index. Now, all this, the property market is driven by the economic impact. The property market is driven by how the economy is. It's important for us to understand this correlationship, right? Now, this is the annual GDP growth of the country. This is where the total business that is done in our country as a whole. Now, if you see, in 2008, I took a 15 years, a 24, 25 years chart to show you that this was the major dip. This was in 2008. This was when we had the global financial crisis, the Lehman Brothers collapse here, and we were impacted. And you can see that what happens is it kind of went down and bounced back up. But this period was probably in that 2009 season, 2010 season, and 2010 it kind of went up a little bit and then we normalized, right? But you can see that this is a sharper downtrend, and we are seeing this dropping down again. So this is an unusual pattern. It's a very unusual pattern. And the reason why sometimes some of us are not feeling it so much is because the government kicked in the moratorium twice. In 2020, we have 2021, we have what? Sorry, in 2020, we have one moratorium for 6 months. In 2021, we have another moratorium. Now, not sure if the moratorium is going to continue on this year, but I don't think so. So the reality of the impact has not been felt yet because all of us had the moratorium. All of us didn't have a pressure to sell fast because we didn't pay out. We don't have to pay our payments for 6 months, right? So we didn't feel the impact financially around us as much as we thought it would be because of the moratorium, and the moratorium was extended even for corporate and commercial loans. So, but what's important? What does it mean right now? What does this mean? What does all this data mean right now? What does it mean to you? Now, the first thing that I think is important for us to understand is that in reality, the market is very uncertain because the impact that is coming from all these things has not been really felt by us. Now, the small, medium, and the micro businesses, the small restaurants, the stores, those were very impacted. Now, you will see that retailers and restaurants and malls were highly impacted. How many of you walk around the mall and see so many shops closed down? How many of you seen some restaurants, some cafes closed down? So micro businesses, retail businesses were highly impacted during this time. Businesses that is linked directly to the impact of COVID, like travel, hotels, those were impacted as well. Now, the challenge is the other part of the impact, we have not felt it yet, right? Because the moratorium came in. So, but what does it mean to all of us? My perspective would be that the first thing when the moratorium is lifted up, the first thing is a lot of businesses will face something called cash flow challenges. When this article was interviewed, they interviewed the SME Association of Malaysia, and they say that the number one challenge for all businesses, number one challenge is cash flow. Now, I start reflecting this to our real estate business today. How many of us went through cash flow business during the crisis? How many of us went through a season where cash flow was really difficult? This is where you will see a lot of people going through that journey. Now, this article was picked on October 12, but I believe it's leaning towards this year where you will see the number one problem for SME is cash flow. So the challenge for us is, as we run our business this year, we must be very clear how our cash flow is on a monthly basis. If I have 6 months of cash flow for my personal life and my business expense, then I'm in a very safe spot. If I don't, then what do I do to work towards getting that, or 3 months or 6 months cash flow? So it's important for us to have this understanding that whatever impacts happen this year, number one challenge that all of us who are in business is how do we solve our cash flow challenge? And that's what I say, that Metaverse don't solve that problem for us. Having Metaverse doesn't solve your problem for cash flow, because cash flow is derived from your business, how you run your business, how you plan your business. So I want to pause here for a moment about cash flow. I want to ask you all to just imagine yourself right now. I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil if you can, or pen, or in your phones. I want you to think through what is that monthly cash flow that you must have to fund your life and fund your business right now. I want you to write down and put a number. I want you to write this down. Let's do this exercise together. I want you to write it down, put a number. What's the monthly money you need to fund your personal life, which means your family's life, your kids' life, your wife's life, all your commitments, plus your business plus your business expense. Put that number right now in front of you. Now, if you have put that number down, press 1. If you have written down that number, please press 1 on the chat box. Right, some of you write 1. When you see that number, multiply it by 6. Look at the number right now, multiply it by 6. Now, if you see that number multiplied by 6, how do you feel about the number? If I ask you today, do you have this amount of reserve right now? And when you look at this reserve, how do you feel about it? Explain, share with me your one word that describes your emotions. When you look at this number, how do you look? How do you feel about it? When you're scary. Thank you for sharing that. Very good. What else? How many of you feel? How do you feel about it? Stress. What else? Worried. Unbelievable, nervous. Right. That's the number one problem that all of us have in our business. All of us were not spared from this in whatever situation. So the challenge for you to, the thing is this, if you think like that, then the question is, what if today you have a goal to first earn 6 months of cash flows in 3 months? If you can earn whatever goal you set for the whole year, you can achieve everything in 3 months. If you now have this 6 months income right now by next month, if you have 6 months of this total expenses or in cash, with you in your bank account by the end of March or by the end of February, how would you feel? Put in the chat box. If now you have all this money, imagine you have all this money right now by next month, it's in your bank account already. How would you feel? Relieved. What else? Secure, safe. You're secure, contented. What else? Peace. That's how we should start thinking about our business. How can I or you or us have 6 months of reserve upfront if we can achieve all our goals, all our things right now? How can we double down, triple down our business so that we quickly build enough reserves for the next 6 months so that we have the peace of mind? Now, when you are focusing and thinking about your business this way, something changes. Something called intensity, intentions, all change. The perspective change. So if I ask you today, if your goal in your GPS is to achieve 200,000 in 1 year, and I tell you, look, in order for you to feel peaceful, contented, relief, having a peace of mind, feeling safe, what if we achieve that goal in 3 months? And you have the income, and you have the money ready, secure, so that your family is secure, how would you feel? How would you think about your business then? What would change? If I ask you to achieve your 1 year goal in 3 months right now, what would change in you? Put in the chat box, what would change in you? How would you behave differently from your business? How would you behave? Put in the chat box. How would you behave? What if you do that right now? You put more hours. You focus on things that matter, right? You don't do things that doesn't matter anymore. You ask yourself, what is that one thing that you do? If you do that, everything else doesn't matter anymore. What would you focus on? You know, a lot of times we like to do a lot, many things. But actually, in the real fact, if we just focus on things that matter and we double down, we triple down on it, and we put all our resources on it, we will see better results compared to the people that's trying to do multiple things at the same time. So I ask you this right now, because that's how you should be thinking about it this year. Figuring out how to achieve your 1 year goal in 3 months, because that will give you the security. Now I ask you this other question. This is a scary question right now. What if by the end of March, you ran out of money and you can't fund your family anymore? How would that look like for you? I want you to pause for a moment. By end of March, you run out of cash flow. You can't pay your bills. You can't pay your mortgage. You can't pay your loans. You can't pay your car payments. Struggling to feed your family. How would you feel? How many of you like that feeling? My challenge to you is, if you don't want to feel this way, then what do you do? And I'm preparing this to all of you here today because in reality, the cash flow challenge will happen this year. The market is very challenging. You need, maybe in certain location, you may not have enough listing to sell. Certain location, you may not have enough buyers to view. But you've got to figure out how to double down and achieve that 1 year goal in 3 months. You got to think like that. When you think like that, you will behave differently. I promise you will behave differently. Because at the end of the day, all of us want to be better parents, better spouse, better children, so that we can fund our lives. We can fund the lives of our family. It's important for you to think, what is it that I need to change? Because I don't want to go through that in month of March. I want to be in month of March to be able to say that I've enough and sufficient for the rest of the year. I want you all to have that life where you always feel peaceful, less anxiety, and you are able to do more and have more and live a more fulfilled life. Many people can't live a fulfilled life because they cannot fulfill certain responsibility. And the challenge is sometimes we don't understand that well enough to link it back to the way we think about our business. It all starts with the way we think about our business. How can I achieve my 1 year goal in 3 months? I would challenge everyone today to think in the next 12 weeks, how can I do all I need to do in 1 year to get it done in 3 months? Which means I need to double down, triple down on the listings that I have. I need to talk to more people. I need to make sure that who are the people I talk to are the relevant people. Those are the things that you need to think about in your business. Now, one of the things that I would encourage you is to do something called red light, green light. Right? Now, red light, green light, when it comes to money, is important. It doesn't mean you must save money. Now, I want to give you an example. How many of you watched this show called Squid Game? This was probably the most famous game they played. Right? This is probably how many watched this movie, this series called Squid Game? Not yet. Go watch it. And in this game, there's something called red light, green light. Now, the doll, which is a huge giant doll, turns away from the people. Everyone is at the back of her. When she turns around, it's called red light. When she turns around and when it turns red, everybody is supposed to stop. When it goes green, everybody's supposed to progress forward. There is a timer on the clock that's for like maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, right? And the challenge is this: if you move when the light is red, the gun will shoot you and you will die. If you move when the light is green, you're okay. But when the light turns red, you must quickly stop. Now, the challenge I explain to people is like this: money is like that. You need to put money in a place that works for you, and if it doesn't work, you must stop. But it doesn't mean you must save money and not spend money in your business. And that's dangerous, because after 3 minutes, what happens? If you don't cross the finish line after 3 minutes, the gun shoots you, you still die. So by not doing anything, by not investing in your business, by not putting money in marketing to generate leads or whatever, you will still die. It's a matter of time. You put more money in, you put the money in the wrong place, you do the wrong things, you die. You don't do anything, you also die. So the only way is to test and measure what works, what doesn't work. If I put $1, I put $1,000 here, how many leads am I generating that can help me in my business? Now, if it's not generating leads, stop that, red light it, go for another place and go green light. Set a budget. Why we put our GPS tool with budget? Because budget is supposed to help you play red light, green light. What move the needles drive, what don't move the needle don't drive. Now we actually ran a campaign last year, last quarter of last year, to generate more leads, to increase recruitment, right? Some of you saw the R2R campaign. Now I think we recruit something like 17 or 18 people because of that, and how much we spend. Now we know if we spend X amount, we got 70, 18 new R2 recruits in. So okay, we are able to spend that money. When we hit a certain threshold, we will stop. Then we will change something else that will generate more leads. The goal is to measure the money that you spend and make sure that it's put in the right place. The danger that we have is when we see red light, we just put the money and not move and just stay still. So not moving kills you. Even it's more difficult when you don't move for a long time and you try to move. It's very difficult. So my challenge to everyone here today is to think about red light, green light, and be progressive and move faster. The only way you know what works and doesn't work is when you try it. It doesn't work, you stop, you go to something else that works. If it doesn't work, you stop, you go to something else to work until you find the things that work. And that's the way you want to measure this year in your red light, green light. So here's what I think that needs to happen in your business. Be sure that you are clear of your goals. Be sure that you are clear of your goals. If you are not clear on your goals, it is impossible to achieve them. So when someone tells me today, my goal is to earn X amount of money, I will always ask this question: how many listings do you need? How many leads do you need? It's not about how many, it's not about when you go into the metaverse, because going into the metaverse cannot give you more leads, cannot give you more listings. Ask yourself this question: do I have enough listings? What is my formula? Now, if I want to achieve 1 year's goal in 3 months, what is that formula? Your GPS has to be very clear. How many listings do I need? Now, some people say, but John, that is very old-fashioned. That's very basic. Yeah, basic is the one that drives your business. If your basics is not strong, don't talk about things that is very up there, because it is the basics that helps you understand what is your activities and what are your resources that you put in. Now, if today you know that your goal is to generate 50 listings a month and the cost is 1,000 ringgit, if I put 2,000, should I generate 200 listings? You need to have that mindset. Be clear of the goal. Be clear of what you need to achieve on a daily, weekly, monthly perspective so that you can achieve that goal for that month or that year. It's very important, because I find that many people don't have that clarity. Now, if I ask you today in your market, based on what are the data, based on the data I just shared with you just now. So in some markets where the market is very challenging, the buyers are lesser, the listings are a lot. What needs to change is probably the price of the listing needs to change. When there is a lot of supply, there's lesser demand, price must correct. It's a natural thing, right? So the challenge is how many agents go out there and reprice the property. Now, if you need to achieve your goal, then you need to think about, how do I win that market share? How do I generate more leads? Or how do I get to the leads before other people do? It doesn't mean you must spend a lot of money. It means that I need to think about ideas and concepts that will bring me more leads. So having that clarity, if I know every morning, if I spend 3 hours to call 10 people to get 3 appointments, then I just spend 6 hours, I will get 6 appointments. You need to know that relationship. You need to know that number. You need to know the formula, because that's your daily goal. It is the daily goals that will help you achieve your weekly, monthly, and your annual goals. Now, if you know your annual goal is this way, then you want to achieve your annual goal in 3 months, then your daily goal has to commensurate to that achievement of that 3 months. Meaning there are a lot of things you have to say no to. There are a lot of things you have to say no to. One of the important things that most agents, and including myself, most entrepreneurs, is we try to put our hands on everything. We try to try many, many things. We're trying to look for a way that we do less and get more. Nothing wrong with that. But the do less part requires you to go and experiment what are the things that you need to do less. Now, it doesn't mean that you do less. Some people say 3 hours. I think 3 hours is sufficient. 3 hours is sufficient for you to spend time in lead generation. You may not need to do 6 hours. Maybe it's not about the hours. Maybe it's about the script that you need to use. Maybe it's about the mindset. Maybe it's the presentation kit you need to use. You need to think through how can you achieve things with less of time and less of what do you call that, resources, because all of us got limited resources, so that you get more time to do things that you want to do. So be clear of your goals, because when you are not clear on your goals, it is impossible to achieve them. If I asked you this morning, what is your one thing that you must achieve today? What are the activities that will drive your business today that you need to do one? Do you know what is that or not? Do you know your activity that you need to do? What's the number of calls you need to make? What is the people you need to see? How many listings must you have? Do you know this number? If you don't know this number, how do you then behave to achieve that number? Having clarity is very important. Having clarity. Without a clear target, how do you know where to aim? If you don't know every day what you're supposed to do, how do you aim? So my first thought about this year is, it is more important, it is absolutely important this year that you have the clarity of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goal. Be very clear. And be very clear what is a distraction and what is an attraction. Be very clear. What is important, what is not important. What is the things that you're supposed to do, what are things that you shouldn't do. Right? Because your number one thing in our business should be lead generation. And the challenge is this, that the secret to lead generation is this: there will never be enough leads. There will never be enough leads. There is a myth saying that once you hit this number, you get enough leads. No. Because you have to think, your mindset to think that there is never enough leads for any business. There's never enough leads. So what do you do when there's never enough leads? You always find more. You always double down. You always triple down. Because leads are the fuel to your business. Leads are the petrol to your engine. Your engine requires leads. The reason why a lot of our agents, now if you study agent, most agents' businesses, the number one problem is leads. Number one problem is leads. Number two problem is listings. Number three problem is time. Very simple. I met so many agents. Generally, these are the three things that they have. They don't have enough leads, they don't have listings, or they don't have enough time. Right? So what do you do? Right? So you need to have clear action. So when you have clarity about your goal, you start thinking about what is your action. What is your clarity in your action? Clear actions are great. Without a deadline in place, you can find yourself moving a lot, but going nowhere. How many of you wake up in the morning and you do a lot of things, but you're not moving anywhere? How many of you feel that way? I feel that way sometimes. How many of you feel that way? Put in the chat box. Like you are that hamster running in that wheel. You know, hamster, they run in the wheel, they run, but they don't go anywhere. How many of you feel that every morning you are very busy, but you don't see any business? And that's a trap. It's a trap of that wheel, because we don't have clear actions. We don't have clear focus on what are the actions that we're supposed to do every day. No, I challenge some agents. I say, if you focus on pricing 5 listings a week, pricing it correct. Now, I may have a lot of listings right now, 300 listings, 400 listings. There was an agent, I remember, I told them, this group of agents, I told them, go and talk to 5 owners a week, because you have the listings ready. Go and talk to 5 of them and try to price the property, 5 of them, price it correctly. Because if you went into that intention with intensity, because I want to achieve my 1-year goal in 3 months, then I'm going to find a way to price 5 properties correctly. How many people I need to call, how many listings I need to talk to, the people that I have relationship, then you be smart about it, right? The owners that I have relationship with, I will go and sit down and have conversation with them and work out a way or a pathway to understand where they are and say, hey, your business is, your property is not going anywhere. How can I help you price it correctly? So if you price if your focus is just to price property correctly, 5 property a week, in 1 month, you have 20 properties that's priced correctly already. Is your business a better business or not? Answer my question. Is your business a better business with every month having 20 listings priced correctly to the market that will sell fast? Would your business be better? How many of you think so? The challenge is, why are we not doing anything about it? Why are we not going to the market or going to our daily routine and start thinking, what is it that I need to do? What are the skills I need to learn for me to present to the owner and price it correctly. If I have that goal of 5 or 10 listings a week, then it will help me. That's the activities that will put you somewhere. The activities that will put you nowhere is, let me randomly call my master listing and let's call all these listings right now. Let's just call them and put them one way. But it's not helping you because you are not pricing the property correctly, because there are certain markets where pricing is very important. There are certain market listing is scarce. The minute you got listing, doesn't matter what price it will sell. That happens in that market. There are certain markets that those things happen every time of any season, right? But in most markets, pricing correctly, especially right now, is important. You need to talk to them right now about it. So what are some of your activities that is clear that you need to do every single day? I'm very clear on Mondays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm doing this. I'm very clear. You will not see me having anything on my schedule. So therefore, on Saturday, at a certain period of time, I will prepare myself to be able to do this, right? So I took this Saturday and Sunday to prepare this. And I time block myself because I need to do this to get this impact. And I hope I'm going somewhere with someone of you. How many of you are learning something today? If you are learning something, you help me to help me to understand that at least I'm moving something in what I do, right? The actions that I take, right, that I take today is having us to go somewhere. So having clarity in your action, having clarity in your goals, and having clarity in your action, what you need to do every day is very important. That you don't waste time. It's very important that you don't focus on things that don't matter, right? Now, I want to bring attention to this book I've read this book called The 12-Week Year, how you get more things done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. Now, you will begin to understand the 12-week planning, the 30-60-90 planning that we do, because we are trying to achieve certain things.
John, your song has gone.
Yeah. I think there was a beep and then you went off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, too loud. I think my microphone also changed already. So I moved the microphone changed already. Okay, never mind. Sorry. So the challenge is, how do you move 1 year of inventory in 3 months? How do you get 1 year's listings in 3 months? Now, if you imagine you do that, imagine the competition in your location right now. Your competition is thinking 1 year and you're thinking 12 weeks, I'm sorry. You're thinking 3 months, they're thinking 1 year. When you think 1 year to achieve in 3 months, they're thinking 1 year to achieve 1 year. What's the difference between you and them right now? Someone put in the chat box. What's the difference for someone who is thinking, how do I achieve my goal in 12 weeks versus someone, how do I achieve my goal in 1 year? What's the difference that will happen between you and your competitor right now? Put in the chat box. How would your competitor look? What is the outcome? If you are going for a fight and a competition between someone who's thinking in 12 weeks and someone who's thinking in 12 months, what's the difference? Seriousness, what else? What's the difference? Tell me, guys, what's the difference? Who has a higher chance of winning the market? Prepare and ahead. Who has a higher chance of winning the market? Who is faster? Who is changing things? Who is determining what is the reality of the market? Who is getting the better listings? Who is pricing it correctly? Super busy, get result faster. Absolutely right. Because you are now suddenly the superpower. You have the superpower because you change the way you think. You think about how to achieve things in a shorter period. You condense what the capacity of this person has. Basically, when you do that, you just increase the capacity and your ability. You suddenly got a superpower that you start thinking, I want to achieve my 1 year goal in 3 months. And it's possible. It is possible because majority of the market still thinks the market will come back to normal and become okay. So when you behave from this fear, because I don't want to have no income and have bad cash flow in March and I can't fund my family, I don't want that anymore. You're very clear about that. You're very clear why you wake up in the morning and do this, right? As we do this exercise this morning, that is why you're now very focused And when you're very focused versus someone who is less focused, who has a higher chance of winning? The agent with 12 weeks or the agent with 12 months? Are you a 12-week agent or a 12-month agent? That's the challenge. That's the thinking you must have today. That's the thinking that you must think about how you decide how you now. Nobody can force you, but it's your decision. It's up to you how you behave. Are you a 12-week agent or a 12-month agent? Right? And the goal is to how do you win market share? Because the 12-week agent will think, how can I win market share faster? How can I make it faster so that I am secure? So that I can fund my family? So that I can become creative later? So that I can double down? You know what will happen when you achieve your goal in 12 weeks? Now, put in the checkbox today. If you achieve your 1-year goal in 12 weeks, what would it make your life look like? How would your life look like? Put in the checkbox, please. If you achieve your goal in 12 weeks versus 1 year, when you have that money in 12 months, 12 weeks, you achieve all your business goals, you hit your goal in 12 weeks, there will be the month of March or month of April. How would you feel? Tell me that feeling right now. Less stressful relief. What else? How would you feel? How would you behave for the next 6 months or 8 months or 9 months? Confident. You start thinking confidently, if I can achieve things in 12 weeks, then I should have a bigger goal in life. I could have a better life. Or I could spend more time with my family and still earn more than last year because I fly like a bird singing. I like that. I can do more, right? I realize that my capacity is better than what I thought is. That's the value of that. And in order for you to do that, you need to win market share. You need to think, how can I win market share in the next 12 weeks? How can I go out there and win all the leads and all the listings for the market share? It's all about work and time. It's all about the rate of work, right? Time, task over time. If I keep doing this consistently, it will move. Now, give an example. Today, I think the regional team has at least 1 to 2 videos uploaded every week for the past 2 years. Every week, at least 1, 2 videos. We have 100 over videos and we will keep building our content. Hopefully one day I become a YouTuber and they'll pay me some money as a YouTuber, because right now, not many people subscribe, but hopefully sometimes after all my gadgets, people will subscribe to me, right? But the important thing is about consistency, because consistency is the one that brings us success, because we are very clear what we need to do every day, right? So the goal is to win market share through consistency. And also the goal is how, whatever you're doing today, whatever you're trying to do in your business, how does it bring massive impact? You got to think, if I spend $1,000, is this impactful? If I do this training today, this morning, when I planned my whole 1 hour here, I took about 2 hours to plan yesterday and an hour on Saturday to plan what I'm going to say today. It has to create impact. My question to you is, today's message having impact in your business and your thinking right now? Is it impacting you right now? Put in the chat box. Is today's message or today's sharing, this session, has it impacted you? So you've got to think about every day in your life, in your business, what do I do to create impact? Because impact is important. You've got to hit it and get it, and you've got to impact it. If I got 5 more listings that is priced correctly today, does it impact your business? If I speak to 5 more people or set 3 more appointments this week, does it impact your business? If whatever you are doing is not bringing those things to your business, it is not creating impact. It is not creating impact when you do things that doesn't bring those things. What are the things that move your business? Appointments, listings, right? Appointments and listing, appointment and listings. So sometimes people say, I want to spend more time learning how to negotiate. I say you will negotiate when the time comes. You want to spend time learning how to negotiate? Go and negotiate with 10 people. In order to have negotiation with 10 people, you need to have a lot of leads. In order to go all leads, you need to have a lot of appointments. Then you got 10 people to negotiate. Then I guarantee you, by practicing, your negotiation skill will go up better. Because it is not those big, those are the things that doesn't help you move. It is the leads, appointments, listings that will help you move your business. Do not underestimate. Yeah, simple extra things, but powerful. Simple things like getting more leads, getting more appointments will increase your skills. Going for training for skills are important, but spending all your time to how to develop the skill. People ask me, this is the famous question every day I got. How do you convince people to buy? I said, I cannot convince the people to buy yet. I haven't learned the skill yet. I just learned the skill of how do I find enough people so that in my enough people, some people are ready to buy. It's a mathematical formula. It's a calculation. It's a science. Right? It's a science because the more you do it, the better you get, right? The better you get. So think about your business today. What are some of the things that you need to do that you create impact in your business? If it's not creating impact, impact means you'll feel, oh, shoot, man, this is good. This is impactful, or it could be a negative impact that you stop doing it, but high impact to your business because you want to hit 12 weeks goal, 12 months goals in 12 weeks. So what's the high impact? It requires a lot of impact. How much you need to do? What are the things that you do? And most important thing, what are the things that you shouldn't be doing? Right? If you don't know what to do, at least know what you shouldn't be doing. Then you'll figure out what you need to do. Right? So play offense. A great boxer called Jack Dempsey said this. He said, the best defense and an offense. In this year, there are three things that I shared just now. Number one, have clarity of your goal. Someone in the virtual support can help me type in the chat box. Number one, have clarity of your goal. Be very clear what your goal is. Your daily goal, your weekly goal, your monthly goal, your annual goal. Put it there. What's your goal? Virtual support, please put in the chat box for me, please. Number one, have clarity in your goal. Number two, have clarity of your daily actions. What are the actions you must do every single day? Be very clear. Now, I have to say no to a lot of things. I have to say no to a lot of people because I have to see what are the things that I do or who are the people that I speak to that can create impact. That can create impact. I'll give you an example. A reporter wanted to interview me last week. She sent a list of questions on email. I said, I'm sorry, I don't have the time to respond to your email. It's good. Number one, I'm not very good at it. The reason I'm not very good at it is because I don't like to write very much. And if I write and reply the 10 questions on email and I want to do it properly, it will take me more time because writing is not my strength. I know what is my strength. So, and then I told her I don't have the time because it will take me half an hour, 1 hour to finish and answer all the questions. You know what? I give you an alternative. Why don't you set an appointment with me and I look at my calendar, only Friday available in the afternoon for 20 minutes. I believe I can answer all your questions. You can record the conversation and you can write your piece. So I figured out the best way to achieve that goal was to have a one-to-one Zoom call with that person for 15-20 minutes and I can answer the questions rather than I sit down and think for 3 hours how to answer the question on email. So that's an example what the things that I do have the greatest impact. You got to think from your strength, from your weakness, what can you do right now? Have clarity on your goal, have clarity on your daily actions. Number three, right? I want you to think about how to win market share. The third thing is have clarity of winning the market share. Bring clarity and win market share. And be attacking. Have the best defense is a good offense. Go out there and win market share. The only way you and I can survive in this market, to be safe and to have that peace of mind, is that you know that you're winning market share every day. You know that there are the things that you need to do every day that will achieve your market share status, right? So have that offense. Go out there and be aggressive. Be very aggressive. Remember, you are trying to be a 12-week agent or a 3 months agent versus a 1-year agent goal. You're trying to achieve your goal in 12 weeks, right? I want to share this story as I end today. I want to share in the Second World War, the United States of America was trying to find a way to defeat the Japanese and the Germans. And in 1939, there was this project called the Manhattan Project. Some of you have heard about this. It's the development of the uranium plutonium bomb or the atomic bomb. And they were thinking, what is that one thing that they can do to win the war? What is that one thing they can do to achieve the war so that everybody don't have to fight? What is the highest impact thing that they can do? What's the tactics or the strategy that can give them the highest impact? And the US Army at that point, the Air Force came with a project. And they had this aeroplane called Enola Gay, or It's what we call a B-29 bomber. It was a modified, the goal was to fly from somewhere in Pearl Harbor all the way to Hiroshima, Nagasaki and drop a bomb, a 10,000-ton bomb, atomic bomb. And they took a few years to think about it, and they start thinking, what was the challenge that they had? Because there was no bomber that can fly that far and come back. There was no bomber that had that kind of distance. There was no bomber that can carry the weight of the bomb. So they had to think about creating this innovation of this bomber or modifying this bomber. And Boeing was involved in this project together with the US Army and the Air Force. And of course, in 1945, what happened was they actually launched and dropped the first bomb Hiroshima and second day Nagasaki, and it ended the war. That's an example, and I'm not saying that it was a good thing, it was the right thing, it was the best thing, but it was an example of doing that one thing that matters that win the war. So sometimes in life, in business, right, don't do so many things. Right? You just focus on what's that one thing that you can create, or that one activity that you do that will bring the highest impact to your business. What would that be? And that question is something that you have to ask yourself based on your strength, your understanding of yourself, your market, the positioning that you are in, the environment you are in. But you got to figure out, because all of us have that atomic bomb that we have, and we don't know only. We can create this bomb, we can create this thing that will create the biggest impact, that will impact everything else. And I want you to have the best impact, because the impact you will bring to your family this year, the security, the peace of mind, the clarity, and the ability for them to manage and maintain their lifestyle rests at your hands when you think about what's the biggest impact you can do every day in your life. As I end this session today, I want you all to think through this deeper, and I want you to have this mindset that it's important for us to think about how we behave, how we become better every day, because we are trying to win the market share. We are trying to be better. I hope today has helped you had better understanding of how you start the year. I hope this has set the tone for you to behave differently in this year. This year is indeed a very uncertain year. It's a year where we don't know what will happen. We don't really know what's the main outcome, but we do know these are the things that's happening. There's inflation, there's hyperinflation, there are changes in the market, and there are a lot of people that will go into the market without clarity, but you have a chance to find that clarity right now. How many of you have learned something? You learned something today, please put on the chat box. Lynn, you can share the screen you take over my sharing, and then you can share the announcements. How many of you have learned something? What are some of the things that you have learned? Please share your ahas on the chat box right now. Right, please share your ahas. Now, we are running an event very soon on the 20th of December. I'm going to play a video. Lynn, can you play the video? Then I'll come with the announcements, please. So this event will be on the 20th of January. It will be we have finalized the location. It's going to be in Berjaya Times Square Ballroom. You will be getting a registration link to from your market center support to register for this event, because we need to register for this event due to the limitation of space. So I would ask you all to sign up as soon as possible when you get the list, so that you don't be disappointed you can't come into the hall. We may not be able to get 1,000 people in the hall, but I think there's a certain limitation of how many people we can bring into the hall due to the SOP. So I will encourage you to take action faster and register. So if you want to be a 12-week agent, come for the event on the 20th, okay? Next slide, next announcement, please. Okay, so we are still having the touch points. Reach out to your clients, talk about how you can help them this year. The touch points will be available every Thursdays. And we are slowly changing the touch points to a different format as we move forward. So we will let you know as we go along this year. Next slide, please. Right. So the one thing that I want to leave you all as you go away from this session, Gary Keller said this very much. He said that do not spend your time being good at everything, but spend your time being good on the things that you're supposed to do. Sometimes we want to be perfect in everything. Want everything to be perfect before we jalan. But I think that if you just keep doing what we do and be good at what we do every single day, it doesn't really matter what the world changes, because we will just get better, we just get more stable, we will just get more consistent. So my ask of everyone this week, as you go and start this week, as we enter the middle of the month, there's 10 days of the year has passed. If you feel like that there's so much more you need to do, after this call, start putting down a list of things that you should take action and start doing it at the highest level you can. If you consistently be clear of your goals, your daily goals, your weekly goals, your monthly goals, and if you think like a 12-week agent versus a 1-year agent, I believe you will hit the best year of your life in your business this year. And not only you have the best year in your business, I believe you have best year in your own personal life, because you have achieved so much and you are able to bring that peace and that comfort, and you can bring that to you back home to the people that you will impact. There will be less anxiety in your life and your family's life because you have taken the step. I want to congratulate you. I want to thank you for taking this step of faith to do this, so that you are able to be that source of hope for the people around you. With that, thank you so much, guys. Have a good rest of the week. I will see you at the next session.